Day 615, 22 for 22. Good morning. Hope this finds you well. Please stay in your fight and do not quit. All right, so today is Red Friday, so please remember everyone deployed. The work that is done by the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard is definitely not a safe one, especially when overseas. And that doesn't matter whether it's for combat operations or training. The jobs are inherently dangerous. So if you pray, say a prayer. If you don't pray, do what you do. I appreciate it. All right, so I've been talking about technology and time and how it has changed war and us. And this one's going to be a bit of a mishmash. We look at what the human mind does to create war implements. If we compare World War II to now, we have fighter bombers now that carry as much as a B-17 strategic bomber in World War II. We have destroyers now as the main part of our fleet other than our carriers, whereas before it was the behemoth called the battleship. Heavily armored, can take a hit and give a hit. The destroyer, not really, can't really take a hit too well, and it can dish out missiles more so than it can a main gun. The only thing that really has not changed much in the past 100 years is how a rifle or pistol works. There's not really been a ton of innovation because they haven't figured out another way to do it. Now the Navy has come up with a railgun. Let's see if they can miniaturize that and fit it in your pocket. Right now, ain't gonna happen. It's huge. What we don't see is a revolution in treating the effects of combat other than in the medical field as far as what I've talked about already. We can put you back together again as far as your body goes, largely, to at least live. What we do have a large problem with is putting us back together up here. And that's not necessarily just the military's fault. That is the VA's fault, that's the government's fault, that is the medical profession's fault for not innovating. And from what I've seen, there's now some real efforts in it. Now, World War II, it was just I explained this before in another video. It was battle fatigue. Yeah, it's battle fatigue, all right. It's seeing everything that you've seen playing out in your head over and over again, and you're just done. And they've worked towards that, and they usually use it as from what I've read, it was decompression, allowing you just to relax, decompress behind the lines until you're ready to go back, and you're pushed back up as fast as you can because you were needed. Nowadays is, like I said, it's go over there and come back, go over there and come back, go over there and come back, and it's never a shut off. And then you go to get out, and all of a sudden you feel naked and you don't know what's going on. And that can definitely play a big role in our suicide rate. With World War II, as I said, they threw themselves into their jobs, and they were also raised different. They were brought up different, and I gotta say, I think they were a tougher breed, plain and simple. I'm not saying we aren't tough, but they had to go through a lot more than we did. Mental health back then, I really don't know how it was because I ain't that old. But nowadays, the VA tries, and I think in some cases they are successful. In other cases, not so much. And it's a lot of it's, you got to stick around and figure out what works for you and keep working. And if it's not working on the VA side of it, see what you can do about getting out onto the economy through either work or Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. You got to do what you got to do to take care of you. A lot of these guys in World War II got out with a purpose of putting their life back where they wanted. They had hopes and dreams, and it was easier, I think, possibly, to work within those hopes and dreams and make it work. Nowadays, It's a little bit tougher if you got plans for a career that you're going to form on your own. Regulation sucks. It's good in some ways, but it kind of sucks. It slows you down. Now, like I said, I think those guys got out with a purpose of reclaiming their life back from the military and the war, and they were largely successful. Now, that's not saying we aren't successful, because I think, especially when you spend a lot of time doing what I'm doing, you see all the bad stuff that's going on, but there's so many more out there that are successful and that are busting their tail and making it happen. So I think we spend a lot of time concentrating on those that are struggling, and it is worth doing. Absolutely 110% worth sticking around and trying to help people up and get back into their lives so that they can be successful too. But when you're doing that, you have a tendency to neglect looking around you other than the mission that you're focused on, and seeing how many veterans are actually successful. And that's something that our people that are struggling should emulate. Look at that person. How is that person getting there? Do they have a shit attitude, or do they have a good attitude? How healthy are they? You do have to look at that. Like, I am definitely not a model of health. Definitely not. But the thing is I have a positive attitude. I don't quit, and I keep moving forward. Now, was there a time that I didn't do that? You betcha. And it took a good woman to smack me on the ass, smack me in the face, and say, wake the hell up. You got a good life. Let's put this back together for you. And she helped me along. Now I'm here helping you guys along, trying to do the same thing that was done for me. You're just not going to have the same benefits I do. I'm trying to be happy here. But no, it's the life can be very good, and you just have to fight for it. Fight for it the same way that you had to fight for your life overseas, just not as violently, but with the same tenacity and the same effort that you put in. Will not always equal results. Choices. There's a lot of stuff to it. And I'm going to get into one more thing on Monday about what I'm talking about, what I've been talking about with the technology and time. But you have to use what you have around you to get things done. And there's a plethora of stuff that can be used nowadays that they didn't have back then. They had to do it the hard way. Got it a little bit easier. Now we just have to put the plan in play and try to get there. Bottom line, have some hope. It's good stuff. It may be dark where you're looking now, but there's some light around you. You just got to find it. I promise.